So you asked about what else is going to happen. Every 6 months I oscillate. So we're on it's an even odd oscillation. So at the moment, the gap between the frontier models, of which there are now only 3, I'll review who they are, and everybody else appears to me to be getting larger. 6 months ago, I was convinced that the gap was getting smaller. So I invested lots of money in the little companies. Now I'm not so sure. And I'm talking to the big companies, and the big companies are telling me that they need 10 billion, 20 billion, 50 billion, 100 billion.
Stargate is 100 billion, right?
They're very, very hard. Sam Altman is a close friend. He believes that it's going to take about 300 billion, maybe more. I pointed out to him that I'd done the calculation on the amount of energy required. And I then, in the spirit of full disclosure, went to the White House on Friday and told them that we need to become best friends with Canada. Because Canada has really nice people, helped invent AI, and lots of hydropower. Because we as a country do not have enough power to do this. The alternative is to have the Arabs fund it. And I like the Arabs personally. I spent lots of time there, right? But they're not going to adhere to our national security rules, whereas Canada and the US are part of a triumvirate where we all agree on.
So these $100 billion, $300 billion data centers, electricity starts becoming the scarce resource.
And by the way, if you follow this line of reasoning, why did I discuss CUDA and NVIDIA? If $300 billion is all going to go to NVIDIA, you know what to do in the stock market. Okay. That's not a stock recommendation. I'm not a licensed.
Artificial intelligence has been a contentious and quite controversial topic ever since the renaissance of the technology back in the year 2020. That obviously does not mean there was never any attempt or a successful implementation and use of artificial intelligence in the 2010s. It was just simply a proof of concept and never reached the sophistication of what we currently have, and what we are currently still getting to this day. It took years for artificial intelligence to advance to our current state. But now with the advent of technology and investments, it takes just a couple of months to go from pretty advanced image generation to early forms of video generation that will just keep the cycle going and going further. The big tech companies and the smaller ones that can find investments in response to their vast ambition are now leading the charge on artificial intelligence and are attempting to race for supremacy. Google's former CEO Eric Schmidt thinks it is already a done deal. But before we go through it, if you want to keep up with Nvidia's latest updates and keep up with the stock market's latest news, you can follow our Twitter account. We post multiple times daily about the biggest changes and catalysts in the market, so click the follow button if you don't want to miss the newest market updates. Now, back to today's video.
Well, part of it, so we're going to need a lot more chips, but Intel is getting a lot of money from the U.S. government, AMD, and they're trying to build, fabs in Korea.
Raise your hand if you have an Intel computer in your Intel chip in any of your computing devices. Okay, so much for the monopoly.
Well, that's the point, though. They once did have a monopoly.
Absolutely.
And Nvidia has a monopoly now. So are those barriers to entry, like CUDA? Is there something that other? So I was talking to Percy Lang the other day. He's switching between TPUs and NVIDIA chips depending on what he can get access to for
That's
training
because
models.
he doesn't have a choice. If he had infinite money, he would pick the B200 architecture out of NVIDIA because it would be faster. And I'm not suggesting, it's great to have competition. I've talked to AMD and Lisa Su at great length.
Yeah.
They have built a thing which will translate from this CUDA architecture that you were describing to their own, which is called ROCm. It doesn't quite work yet.
Imagine a tech world where data centers are cash cows, biting billions out of corporate treasuries and propelling the financial future into a new stratosphere. We're talking about a seismic wave in artificial intelligence, fronted by none other than Nvidia, and involving some major players who are ready to invest eye-watering sums to stay ahead of the curve. Former Google CEO Eric Schmidt, a man who knows a thing or two about technological innovation, recently shared some insights that have sent ripples through Wall Street. He laid out a compelling case for why Nvidia is not just another player, but could very well be the definitive champion in the AI race. Companies are about to funnel billions, nay, hundreds of billions, towards Nvidia's groundbreaking technology. But obviously, you don't just want to know about the thing. You want to know about all the eccentric details, so let us take a dive into the artificial intelligence world and dissect what exactly Eric Schmidt said about Nvidia. Hello everyone and welcome back to Investocracy.
And the problem here, the reason I'm being so harsh about work is that these are systems which have network effects. So time matters a lot. And in most businesses, time doesn't matter that much, right? You have lots of time. You know, Coke and Pepsi will still be around, and the fight between Coke and Pepsi will continue to go along, and it's all glacial, right? When I dealt with telcos, the typical telco deal would take 18 months to sign, right? There's no reason to take 18 months to do anything. Get it done. It's just, we're in a period of maximum growth, maximum gain. So, and also it takes crazy ideas. Like when Microsoft did the OpenAI deal, I thought that was the stupidest idea I'd ever heard. Outsourcing essentially your AI leadership to OpenAI and Sam and his team. I mean, that's insane. Nobody would do that at Microsoft or anywhere else. And yet today, they're on their way to being the most valuable company. They're certainly head-to-head in Apple. Apple does not have a good AI solution, and it looks like they made it work.
Let's get the gears turning. Picture Schmidt before a captivated audience at Stanford. His words could have been drawn from a futuristic sci-fi novel, but he's very much grounded in present realities. Eric Schmidt believes Nvidia's prowess in AI technology is unparalleled. Nvidia's GPUs are already the gold standard in data centers, and they're primed to see even more bullish days ahead. Schmidt's assertion comes against a backdrop of astronomical sums he mentioned. Corporations queuing up to spend anywhere between $20 billion to $100 billion on AI integrations, primarily with Nvidia. Don't let your jaw hit the floor just yet. There's plenty more to process. It's like finding out that the goose-laying golden eggs also doubles as a high-tech oracle. Nvidia isn't just another tech company dabbling in AI. They've entrenched themselves deeply. Their CODA programming language has become the backbone for many open-source AI development tools, creating a chasm between them and their competitors. Schmidt threw some shade at Advanced Micro Devices, AMD, mentioning that AMD's software used to translate CODA code doesn't work yet. Ouch. That's akin to saying, your paper plane won't fly during this jet race. Now, if you pinch yourself to wake up from this dream, you'll find Nvidia's own financials are a sweet reality. Nvidia reported a staggering $26 billion in revenue for the first quarter of fiscal 2025. They're projecting $28 billion in the next, and Schmidt's optimism suggests they could be staring at an additional $300 billion in revenue down the barrel in the near future. The potential here is like standing at the foothill of a financial Mount Everest, but it's not just Nvidia basking in this glory. Schmidt points out the large companies ready to invest billions will themselves benefit significantly. He didn't mention his old cronies at Google by name, but it's not hard to read between the lines. Google Gemini, along with OpenAI's GPT-4 and Anthropic's Claude, are the three AI giants widening the gap with their competition. That is including the fact that Google was vehemently late to this technological race in the first place. Now, we are not saying every savvy investor should rush to buy Nvidia stock right now based solely on Eric Schmidt's conviction, but every perspective is pointing towards a future rise in the Nvidia stock, and every guiding voice is telling us to follow the clues and expect the massive revenue that is coming. It's important to weigh the facts. Nvidia's market cap currently stands at a colossal $3.2 trillion. This already incorporates a gigantic forecast of sales growth. Aswath Damodaran acts as the other side of the coin, a valuation expert, believes Nvidia will need to diversify beyond AI infrastructure to sustain investor interest. He echoes a rather salient point. While AI is a cash cow, Nvidia must keep finding new pastures. Nevertheless, the magnitude of opportunity over the coming years could see Nvidia unlocking significant new markets, potentially much sooner than many expect. Everyone's crystal ball might show different pictures, but Schmidt's insights can't be ignored. Nvidia, positioned as they are, appear ready to reel in a treasure trove of investment and innovation. So what does all of this mean for Nvidia stock investors? The answer is easy. But before going through it, if you made it this far into the video, thank you. These videos take a lot of effort and time to make. So if you enjoyed them, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This goes a long way in helping us grow. That said, back to the video.
Brilliant people over there like Peter and Jeff Dean and everyone. But now it doesn't seem like they're they've kind of lost the initiative to OpenAI, and even the last leaderboard I saw, Anthropic's Claude was at the top of the list. I asked Sundar this. He didn't really give me a very sharp answer. Maybe you have a sharper or a more objective explanation for what's going on there.
I'm no longer a Google employee.
Yes.
In the spirit of full disclosure, Google decided that work-life balance and going home early and working from home was more important than winning. And the reason startups work is because the people work like hell. And I'm sorry to be so blunt, but the fact of the matter is if you all leave the university and go found a company, you're not going to let people work from home and only come in 1 day a week if you want to compete against the other startups.
When in the early days of Google, Microsoft was like that.
Exactly.
But now it seems to be...
And there's a long history of, in my industry, our industry, I guess, of companies winning in a genuinely creative way and really dominating a space and not making the next transition. It's very well documented. And I think that the truth is founders are special. The founders need to be in charge. The founders are difficult to work with. They push people hard. As much as we can dislike Elon's personal behavior, look at what he gets out of people.
So, where does this leave the savvy investor? Right on the precipice of a potentially rewarding plunge. Yes, Nvidia comes well endowed with previous successes and future potential, but it's the colossal projections Schmidt hinted at that should ignite a spark among those holding on to their investment capital. With major corporations set to part with enormous sums primarily leveraging Nvidia's tech, the opportunity could be dazzling. The current state of Nvidia's stock is already robust. Riding high with its gargantuan $3.2 trillion market cap, Nvidia has carved out an enviable position. Yet the forecast suggests the narrative is far from complete. Schmidt's projection of a $300 billion influx foretells a further amplification of Nvidia's fortunes. It raises an enticing question. How much higher could this giant leap? Here's the takeaway. While caution is a tenet of wise investing, the sheer momentum behind Nvidia's AI advancements and corporate endorsements paints an attractive picture. Are you intrigued by the prospects that Nvidia's future holds? Curious about the tech behemoth and how it plans to keep its stratospheric trajectory? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Whether you're an ardent investor or simply fascinated by technological strides in AI, your perspective matters. Drop your comments and let the conversation flow. This is an unfolding narrative with potentially lucrative chapters still being written, and your opinion is part of this journey. Let's see where this exciting saga takes us next. And finally, if you would like to know what companies like Nvidia have been up to these past few days, go ahead and click on the next video on your screen. See you there!